Hi, I'm Catherine Wrench of Canine Support, and thank you for joining us today to celebrate 50 years of Tellington TTouch. Today, I am joined by the wonderful Sage Lewis, a TTouch Advanced Practitioner for Companion Animals and also TTouch for You. And Sage is based across the pond in Madison, Wisconsin. And today we are going to talk about the power of the pause in TTouch. But welcome, Sage. Great to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks
Um,
for having me.
Before we start, can you tell us the story about how you first came to learn about TTouch? Because it kind of really just mixes in with our subject today.
Yeah. I had a puppy. I mean, it started with a puppy, and her name was Java. And Java came to me at 12 weeks old. She was very bouncy, very exuberant, and she was about a year old or so. And she ended up. We used to run her. I used to run her in a baseball diamond with a variety of other dogs, and on this particular day, the dogs went after her and knocked her down. It was a very scary, and she came up fighting. And I came out with a dog who had issues. She didn't have issues before that, as far as I knew. And at the time, I was an elementary art teacher. I wasn't doing any T-Touch work. I hadn't even heard about it. This was over 25 years ago. But I had this dog who had issues, and so I was working with a variety of different trainers to help, and nothing seemed to be working. And one day I got a flyer in the mail for Tellington TTouch, and I thought, oh, well, that sounds interesting. And I set it down. And then a friend at work knew that I was having some issues with the dog, and I was having a hard time managing and, really working with these reactivity issues. And she said, "Oh, I have this book," and it was Linda's the Tellington TTouch. The green cover used to be the green cover book,
Yeah.
um, and I said, "Oh, isn't that interesting?" And I set it down. And a little bit of time came along, and I knew that I wasn't going to be teaching art for the rest of my life. And I remember sitting in the backyard of my house. I came home for lunch. Java was running around the yard, and I started to think about what was next. And I thought about all the things in my life that I love to do where time just totally goes away. Like I love dancing and I love cooking and I love creating and I love being outside and I love petting animals. And when I got to that, I was like, okay, that's it. That's my next thing on that I want to do. I want to figure out a way, and I literally said this out loud to the universe. I'm going to find a way to make money petting animals. And so I put that out to the universe. And, a couple months later, there was a pet fair happening in Chicago. And I thought, well, let's see, what could I do? Maybe I could do animal massage. And so I ended up calling somebody that was going to be having a booth at the pet fair in Chicago. And I called them and I was talking with them. And they said, yes, come and see us at the event in Chicago. And while I was on the phone with him, Java, the dog, went running through the house. Her tail hit my bookshelf. The TTouch book went flying off the bookshelf and landed on the floor. And you know what I did? I walked over and I picked it up and I put it back on the bookshelf. It was like, how many times does the universe have to go, hello, pay attention? So I went to the pet fair. I ended up going to meet this person that was doing animal massage, and I had looked into certification for animal massage. And I walked up to his booth, and my body just kind of went, ooh, this is not a good fit for me. And I felt a little sad because I was like, that was the track I was planning to go on. And so I turned around and I walked over to the animal communication booth, and I was going to sign up for a reading, and it was all full. And still feeling a little bummed, and I literally turned around and there was a TTouch booth. So what, like four signs later, I walked up and I said, okay, how do I sign up? What can you tell me? First I asked, I said, what can you tell me about this work? And they said it's a method of touch and movement that helps animals relax and think and, shift behavior and help with overall wellness. And I said, great, when's the next training? They said it's in a year and a half. And I just went, oh no, I've got problems now. What do I do now? So I went home and looked online, found a training that was 5 weeks away. Now remember, I was a school teacher at the time. It was the end of the school year, and I needed 5 days off of school. So I went into my principal and I said, you know, I'm not going to do this the rest of my life. And she said, yeah, I know that. She said, you, and I said, you know that I love the animals. You know, I want to figure out a way to make money petting animals. I need to go to this training in Minneapolis. It's in 5 weeks. It was in like the beginning of May of 2002. And she let me go. And that was my first intro to TTouch for dogs. And the story is that I went kind of like, okay, I've got to figure out how to walk my dog and carry a cup of coffee. That was my goal. And the joke is that I stopped drinking coffee. So funny that I had a dog named Java, but over the course of a few days of that training, what started to happen is I started to realize, like, oh wow, I'm part of the issue. She's part. This is a relationship thing.
Mm.
This is about us working together. And I had a moment where I realized this is what I want to do for a living. And it was recognizing that I had been misunderstanding my dog's signals, and she had been so forgiving. And I realized the gentleness of this work and the profundity of it. And I still, 25 years later, it's like, wow, I'm still feeling this, like, wow, about the what's possible with this TTouch work. So was what, 2002, May of 2002, I said, this is what I'm going to do. And I had another 12 years with Java after that, or 11 years, and took her through all of my trainings. And here I am, a couple decades later, teaching, and I use TTouch every day somehow,
Yeah.
either on my body, or I'm teaching people how to use TTouch on their own bodies or with their animals. And that was the
But
beginning.
it's also it's not necessarily doing some of the T-touch, is it? It's just sometimes the whole mindset of it, isn't it? Just that I mean, we're going to talk about the pause, but it's just being much more mindful about how we are with our dogs. Do you know how our body language affects how they're understanding us, and just little shifts in things that we do on a daily basis with our dog. We don't even necessarily need to know how to do the circle and a quarter. Do you know, it's just that whole actually, you know, their behavior isn't a problem. We just need to take some time to understand what they're trying to tell us so that we can
Absolutely.
help them, isn't it?
Absolutely. And what I realized early on was that I was misunderstanding,
Hmm.
that it was about me not understanding clearly. Java was very clear. She was essentially saying, this is not okay, whatever the this was. And so there were all these little signals and signs that she was showing me, and I wasn't understanding them. So I love the idea of, and the word mindfulness, which is why I brought my friend with me today, so, my support system.
My oh no, my Buddha is oh, I can't really see it. It's black. There's one back there.
Uh,
I need to get a necklace for it, actually. I like that idea.
yeah.
Awesome. And kind of going along with the pause, we also talk about how T-Touch kind of gets a little bit intuitive. And I was listening to something you were saying the other day on a Zoom with Linda, and I really loved how you described intuition. Can you remember what you said?
What? Yes, and I can remember what I appreciated was you writing it down and paying attention to what I had said. And I'll tell you what, that was new for me. It was what dropped in when I asked myself the question, what is intuition? And there's an element of deep listening. I feel like intuition for me is deep paying attention. When I really pay attention, I might be taking a walk and my body says, turn this way instead of that way. So there's a sense of this deep listening, which I feel like requires the pause that we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about today. This place of stopping long enough to pay attention, to reset, to reboot, just like we do with the animals when we bring them back into balance. When we bring an animal or a person back into balance, there's an opportunity for a deeper level of paying attention. And I feel like that's where intuition can come through. And the intuition, that the piece then is the paying attention and following what you just noticed.
Yeah,
It's one thing to
absolutely.
pay attention and then to go, oh, well, whatever. But you pay attention and you go, oh, I just heard my body say, go this way or try this or do this.
Yeah, and also it kind of really relates with your story about, Java knocks the book off of the bookcase and rather than just pick it up and put it back, if you'd kind of gone, ah, do you know, in that
Right.
moment, paused, paid
Right.
attention, and then, your process might have speeded up a little bit to T-touch.
Exactly. And it did, finally it was like, oh, I finally got it. And, and
Yeah.
I've written about that in one of my books that it was like these angels singing and this glow on the booth that said Tellington TTouch. It was like a neon sign. Look here, pay attention. We've been trying so hard to get you to pay attention.
Yeah. Brilliant. I love it. So, which let's just get to the nuts and bolts of it. You've got let's start off with you had told me very briefly about the little story about the pause because we use an acronym PAWS, which is pause allows wondrous stillness. Can you tell us the little story about that you've got?
Yeah, the little story I have is I was at my sixth T-Touch training, so my graduation training, 2003 in Cincinnati. Linda was teaching the training, and at some point during the training, and somebody may have a little bit different recollection, but at some point during the training, we were playing with this idea of stopping. That when we did this circle and a quarter, there was a breath, there was a stop, there was a pause, and somebody along the way said, "Oh, we should call it pause, PAWS." The pause allow. At first, it was the pause allowing wondrous stillness, and the pause allows wondrous stillness. So I feel like I was there at the birth of the pause, and it delighted me when you talked about the topic that we were going to explore today because I remember the practicing the pause with Linda at that training.
Yeah, amazing. Can you give us some examples about when we might use the pause within T-Touch?
Yeah, and it's the for me, I noticed that the pause is so important, um, no matter what we're doing,
Hmm.
whether I'm brushing my teeth or whether I'm greeting someone. And that's what I'm recognizing more and more, specifically with T-Touch. What the pause for me does is it allows two things. It allows me a deeper level of paying attention to what I'm doing rather than the telephone cord of, it's like we do the circle and a quarter and we stop and it's like a moment of reflection, like, hold on, let's just be with that for a moment
Hmm.
before we move on to the next circle. Because if each circle and a quarter is complete within itself, let's pause and reflect. How was that and how did the animal respond? Did I notice a whisker move slightly or a breath slightly shift or an ear twitch a little? So I feel like it's partially for me as a practitioner, and then also for the animal, that it gives them an opportunity to not only move from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic more easily, that fight or flight to rest and digest. It also gives them that opportunity to kind of go, what just happened? Because
Yeah.
if we're constantly moving, we don't even know what just happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also is a sorry, that's Remy barking in the background. It also allows the animal, well, we're talking mainly dogs, but it allows the animal to go, yeah, I've had enough and get up and walk away, which is, perfectly fine. In fact, I love it when they get up and walk away. Do you know, it's like
Exactly.
fantastic, do you know, and for them to feel able to do that.
Yeah.
I found with Chloe, my rescue dog, when I first got adopted her and gradually started doing some T-touch with her. She was very, well, I say very, absolutely petrified of people. And so it was like 1.25 circles, pause. Do you know? And she just stood there and I'm like, okay, another 1.25 circles, pause. And it was that moment when she took that step towards me. I was like that. Amazing. Do you know? But at the same time, she had complete choice to move away as well if she didn't want anymore. Do you know?
Yeah.
And that I think is the really powerful thing about that pause, isn't it?
Yeah.
The movement in it.
Absolutely. And it gives that space for opportunity.
Mm, yeah, definitely. And the processing as well of it, isn't it? Of
Hmm.
what's just happened.
Right.
Awesome. So, how does the pause aid in the integration of information for the dog's nervous system? That's a big question.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things, and I actually, in full disclosure, I needed to read a little bit more about this because I see and I feel what happens. And it is that, I printed out an article, The Power of the Pause, and it was about the inception of this Power of the Pause. And I believe it was Sally Morgan who was teaching about cranial sacral, and
Mm,
she was explaining what happens in the pause, that it brings that animal, and I believe the person too, into that place of still point that
mm,
shifts the nervous system from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic. So in the nervous system, the animal is going from that place of can go, or the person can go from a place of fight or flight, and that when we move the skin in a 1.25 circle, we have the opportunity to bring that person and that animal into uh, more of an equal alpha theta state,
mm,
helping to move them a little bit more freely from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic, and that the pause allows that sympathetic nervous system space to even move. It allows that opportunity to move into the parasympathetic.
yeah,
So it's like getting rid of the flooding.
yeah,
And I see
definitely.
it with people. I mean, I taught elementary school, so I saw it with kids all the time. Little kids are moving, 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 moving. And there were times when I would say to my class, like, hold on, let's take a breath. Let's stop for a minute. And in that pause, there's always magic that happens. You see something different. You might notice, like, oh, I see the color of your eyes now, and I wasn't even noticing your eyes before.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I believe that it's the same for the people and the animals. And 15 years ago or so, there was this. I think she was talking about going to an advanced training and the actual cranial sacral fluid and how that shifts from the pause.
Mm.
I'm
It's
sure there's more
fascinating, isn't it?
research on it.
Yeah, and it's so fascinating that, Linda's been doing this for donkey's years now, intuitively, and how science is kind of gradually catching up with
Exactly.
what's going on. It's
Yeah.
really fascinating, definitely. And what is my next question? In what way does the pause enhance trust and clarity with the animal?
it gives them a choice. That's the first, like we talked about just a little bit ago, of that opportunity, giving an animal an opportunity to make a choice, to move closer, to move away. When we are in constant motion, it doesn't allow for that space. So I'm really a big proponent in, even with my clients, finding a stillness practice. What's your stillness practice? How do you find quiet in your life on a daily basis? And
Mm.
it's in that stillness, even if it's just a pause or a moment, where the breath can change, the relationship can change in a moment. It gives that space for the opportunity for change.
And do you think it's also an opportunity for us to really listen to our dogs and more importantly for our dog to feel heard as well? Because
Absolutely.
that really helps to build that trust factor, doesn't it? When they feel that even the smallest whispers, they're like, oh, mum's actually paying attention.
Exactly. Somebody's paying attention. The world that we live in, the human realm with all of the electronics and the EMFs and everything that's moving, 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 that's not the natural world.
No.
The natural world moves actually at, I think it's 432 hertz. And it's at the theta brainwave state, that's Mother Earth actually has a heartbeat that beats at the same rate of the theta brainwaves in the body of a human and an animal. So when we can just do the 1 1/4 circle, take a breath, take a pause, we have a better chance of aligning with that theta state, of bringing ourselves and our animals back to that natural state of being beings of nature.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, because I do love, we talked about how T-Touch just gets integrated in everything that we do with our dogs. And I often think of sort of husbandry activities. I've been dremeling Chloe's nails because they got too long, and just doing a little bit and pausing and just waiting a second. Are you ready for the next one? Just having those moments rather than going, right, I'm going to do all your claws on this paw and we're not stopping till I'm done. It's just crazy, isn't it? And then also just like rubbing them down. We've got very wet, muddy weather here now in the UK. Great. And just sort of toweling them down and stuff. Actually, do we need to just pause and wait a minute? Give them a minute, like here's the towel. Are you
Exactly.
ready? You know,
Yeah,
and
what's the
I,
hurry? That's what I
yeah,
want to know. What are we in a hurry for? Like, we're going to
yeah,
save 8 minutes, and like at the end of our life, we're just going to sit there for 8 minutes. Like, why are we hurrying? What's the agenda that is so important that doesn't allow us to stop and acknowledge
yeah.
that what an incredible gift to have this sentient being
Mm.
to be with. So why not pause and enjoy that too?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, even just things like putting their collar on, putting their lead on, they might be getting really excited because they're going for a walk or whatever, and that's great. And pause and enjoy that excitement, and just give them a second to down again before you clip
Exactly.
the lead on as well, isn't it? And I think what I love about the pause and the pace that we do things is that although it seems like it might be slower and take longer, it actually speeds up the end result, doesn't it? It's taking that moment because Remy's a bit of a funny one for being towed down. She just always thinks it's a tug toy, and so to stop rather than try and play tug and towler at the same time. It's like, let's just stop for a second and lower your arousal a little bit. And that speeds up the process of then getting her paws dried and all that kind of stuff as well, isn't it? That's the great thing about it. And I think it's important to, note that, yes, it might seem like it takes longer, but no, the end
No, and
result
it's
happens.
it's a mindfulness practice. And as I move through life and as I evolve as a human being on the planet, I'm starting to recognize more and more that life is a meditation,
Mm.
and life is about taking those pauses, whether I'm pouring a glass of water or uh, holding someone's hand or brushing my teeth, whatever the it is, the task. Can I slow down enough to pay attention? And I remember I got stopped by the police one day. I was in St. Paul, Minnesota. I was on my way to a haircut, and I went from one lane, and I went to turn. I went through a yellow, and I went from the turn lane to the farthest lane. So two strikes against me through a yellow from one lane to the next. And the cop pulled me over, and she said, "Are you in a hurry?" And I looked at her and I said, "Not anymore, no." And she said, "Are you aware that you did this and this?" And I said, "I'm not. I'm sorry." And she went back to her car. She looked up my record. I had a clean record. I let go of the haircut. I let go of every expectation, every agenda. And I sat in the car and I waited for her to come back to my car. I rolled down the window and she looked at me and she said, "Slow down and pay attention." And I've never forgotten that. To me, that is my mantra. It's like, what really matters here the most?
Yeah.
Slow down and pay attention.
Absolutely. And it was funny because I was driving to an animal sanctuary yesterday actually. And we have really like narrow country lanes in the UK. And so it's just about one-ish car width wide. And I'm driving and I'm like, whoa, let's slow down and drive to arrive. Do you know? Because the sat nav says I'm on time. In fact, I'm going to be 3 minutes early, so let's just slow down. But yeah, that's always one of my mottos: drive to arrive.
I love that. And
Yeah.
I was thinking about the T-touches too when I am working alongside an animal and the honor of just being able to place my hands on an animal. It's such a gift and such an honor instead of a right or a task. It's if we can remember that we have this gift in our hands and our hearts to be able to connect with another life, and how we do it makes such a difference. And what if it's the last circle we have? Can we make that last circle really matter and then pause?
Yeah,
R-
completely.
Beside, rather than trying to get on to the next, whatever the next is. It's taken me a long time to figure this out. I remember at my first training in Minneapolis that changed my life. And I was watching the instructor, Edie Jane Eaton, and I was watching her do the circular T touches, and I just thought, oh my God, this is like the pace of death. How am I ever gonna do this? And we have to breathe at the same time, and we're supposed to breathe and pay attention and all. Well, it happens over time, and I feel like it happens because of the mindfulness that this work brings, it offers, is a deepening in mindfulness.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked a little bit about watching, the little whispers that our dogs are giving us. What kind of things have you seen from dogs in particular? We'll stick with dogs. When you've paused, what are those little whispers that people might not be paying attention to, that the dogs may be concerned or maybe just needs a minute, or do you know what sort of things do you see?
I will often see a glance.
Mm,
Uh, so something with the eyes, maybe a glance sideways. Um, Sometimes a glance that's in a head cock, like, wow, something just happened. I'm trying to figure this out. I will often feel or see the breath changing.
mm,
Maybe an exhale. Sometimes I'll see a stretch, the body stretches, or just part of a limb. This morning, in fact, I was working with our dog Reggae, and when I took the paws, just one of his feet, one of his paws, stretched. So he released some tension in one of his paws. Sometimes a yawn,
Mm.
uh, any kind of a tension release is, and again that opportunity. Maybe you'll see a slight lean in a different direction, or it could be a step. But something often shifts in the paws, and it could be very subtle. It might be a whisker moving.
Mm.
It could be an ear that just twitches a little bit, or a real slight exhale.
Yeah. And I think, because things like a yawn or a lip lick, these kind of things, we know them as calming signals, don't we? That little look, what are you doing? Those sorts of things, they can be calming signals, but at the same time, a yawn might be, like you say, just releasing. We've helped to start release some of that tension, and just like we might get off the from a massage or physio and go, oh yeah, that feels better. Do you know that our dogs are kind of doing the same thing, aren't they?
They do.
And I think it's really important to kind of take it in context of what else is the dog's body saying at that moment in time. Is it a stop now, I've had enough, or is it a just, like you said, stretch a paw, release some tension, that kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and you might hear a gurgle in the belly. You might hear sounds. You might smell. You might see. You might feel something. So I feel like it's an opportunity for the senses to engage more fully. You might have a deeper level of intuition.
Mm.
Um, Something else was just, oh, what I was just thinking about was a snow globe. You know, like a snow globe that you shake it up and it's all the snow is floating around. And I feel like the pause is an opportunity that allows all of that snow to land in both the person and the animal to see the winter scene, to see the possibility of, like, oh, before we shake it back up again.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that when I'm talking to clients and they said, oh, I did this circle and a quarter touch, but I don't think they liked it. And it's important for us to not put a label and kind of guess what they're liking and not liking, but sometimes those little glances and stuff is actually just like, well, that was weird, wasn't it? That I've not felt something like that before, because especially the circle and quarter touch, it's unusual for them. Um, and I don't know if you've ever done this, but I like to kind of put my fingers together, just automatically cross them, and then unfold them and then move them down one,
Hmm.
which is my non-habitual way of holding them,
Oh
which
yeah,
feels weird.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's kind of like what we're doing with the circle and a quarter, isn't it? Like it doesn't hurt, it's not horrible, it's just different from the natural way that we link our fingers together. And it's important to for them for the dog owners to go, oh, it's just different for them rather than, oh, they don't like it.
right.
Do you think?
Yeah, I do. I do. And I learned that or experienced that in my yoga practice as well, where we'll
Mm.
do a pose and then it's shifting, usually the hand movements, using the non-dominant hand and trying something completely different. It also engages the brain in a different way. And
Yeah.
I was thinking just now about the pause with humans too. When I do work with people, people can be very different working with them than animals because they sometimes don't give as clear feedback as an animal will. Depends on what who you're working with and what area of the world you're working. Um, some people will sit and tolerate, and so that pause allows the person to have a space to give feedback also, or allows the practitioner space to say, what do you think? How
Yeah.
was that? Because they may not offer feedback if the touches are just continually moving and there isn't space for feedback. So there's something in here about, and I love just riffing on it because it's that using the pause as a part of my work and to really chunk it down into how come? Why? Let's look at it a little bit deeper. It's
Yeah,
feedback. It's an
yeah,
opportunity for feedback for both the person and the animal.
definitely. And we do like our little saying of something happens when nothing happens as well, isn't it?
Hmm.
And quite a lot can happen when nothing happens.
Yeah.
That's when we see the real magic stuff arrive. Um, we've talked about breathing a little bit. How can dog owners use their breath to enhance that moment of stillness?
One of the things that I really love at home with our dog Reggae, it's like clockwork. When I exhale, he exhales. And it happens during our meditation in the mornings. It happens when I go to bed at night. It happens throughout the day. That when I'm releasing my breath, just gives him an opportunity to go, oh, yeah, let's try that. Or thank you. Thank you for finally getting back even more deeply into heart coherence. Um, so that's looking at it that way. When there's the pause and I'm noticing the breathing, whether it's with a person or an animal, I can even notice more what is the respiration, and can I merge with that respiration? Can I use my breath at the same rate to maybe link up with where they are, where their nervous system is, and then begin to slow down to help them move from that sympathetic over to the parasympathetic. And
Yeah.
again, it's a spiritual practice for me to breathe and to really pay attention to the breath. Like I go back to my first TTouch training. It's like, wow, we're supposed to breathe and think and do this all at the same time.
Yeah.
And so during the day, I'll catch myself, oh, exhale.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
take a breath. You're holding your breath. You're breathing through your nose. You're breathing through your mouth. Just paying attention to the breath.
Yeah. And I think it's I mean, the exhale, it's been something that I feel like I've been going on about all year, but it's just so powerful. And when we think about our pulley dogs, do you know, they pull on the lead, we tense up, we normally inhale, take a short breath, and everything rises. And if we exhale, everything naturally relaxes
Mhm.
and the lead loosens and you feel less stressed. And it can really help in those kind of moments, can't it?
Yeah, it's the letting go. I mean, when we
Yeah.
inhale, we take in life, and when we let go of life. Just like in the, coming into this world and leaving this world. And so every inhale is, what are you taking in? What are you bringing into your life? And holding, if we hold our breath, we hold our life. We prevent ourselves from living fully. When we fully exhale, we can learn to let go. And
Yeah.
that's the big work in the life, is to learn how to take in life fully and let go completely, and in between love completely.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a topic that maybe isn't as talked about compared to pulling on the lead are dogs that get stuck and can't move. And that can almost be more frustrating, especially if you want to walk somewhere. And I've really found, just standing next to, because Remy gets stuck quite often, and at certain points on our walk, and I just stand next to her and just exhale,
Yeah.
and you can almost see her go, "Oh, okay, come on then," and off we go, and I'm
Exactly.
like, "What, just like that?" Do you know,
Yeah,
every time it surprises me, even though now I'm more doing it consciously, and it's just super empowering to know that just an exhale to release some of the tension within ourselves, release the tension we're passing down the lead, can really help to just move them forward.
absolutely. And it's our dog Reggae has that same behavior, the freeze behavior. And Wow, it requires a ton of patience. I've had days where he's in the middle of the driveway and I really want to get him to the front door, but he's got another idea. And it's like, all right, buddy, what do you think? You want to lay in the driveway for a little while? We try leg circles. I work his tail, I work his mouth, then I stop, I do nothing. I just hang out with him. And eventually he's like, I'm ready to go now.
Yeah.
And what I
Yeah.
love about that is I have not worked with a dog with the amount of freeze that my own dog has. And so it's been a great learning opportunity. He doesn't do it nearly like he did when he first came to us 10 years ago. And it's a difficult behavior because the agenda, it's like, no, we're going this way. Well, what it's taught me is maybe not. Maybe
Yeah.
we're going that way. I have a dog. He's a dog who will ask to go lay in the sunshine. And I think he wants to go outside and go potty. And he walks out the door and he lays down on the sidewalk. I'm like, oh, we're just hanging out here. He just wants sunshine for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah. I did that with Remy. I think it might have been last month. There was this huge full moon and so she's at the door. Can I go out? Yeah, okay, let her out. I'm out there with my torch in the dark and she just kind of sits and I'm like, okay. Oh, we're moonbathing. Oh, I see we're moonbathing. Well, okay, let's just moonbathe then for a minute, but not too long because it's a little bit chilly.
Yeah. Well, and think about nature, how nature doesn't move quickly.
Mm,
Human beings, we move quickly, and nature doesn't.
absolutely. And um, I'm trying to think of what Linda said in her interview, but I'm not sure if she mentioned the smile, but why is it important to smile when we're doing tea touches, as we exhale, all of that kind of stuff?
Well, I mean, number one, we look friendlier. So there's that. Um, I think it's either Helen Keller or Mother Teresa, one of those wonderful ladies that said, "The smile, let us greet each other with a smile because a smile is the beginning of love."
Mm,
And so I really believe that we look friendlier. We can look friendlier as long as it's a natural smile.
yeah,
It also increases the serotonin and the oxytocin in the body, which are the calming chemicals, that bliss chemical, the chemical that we get when we go out into nature. And there are times I used to wonder, like I'd see people walking down the street and they're just smiling for no reason. I'm like, what are they smiling about? And now I've become that person that you I practice smiling when I'm driving by myself in the car,
yeah,
and it becomes second nature and it feels so much better to smile. I believe that smiling is our natural state and that we have to relearn how to smile. So it brings us more into heart coherence, and the animals can feel that. I can smile from a different room and my family will come walking in.
yeah,
We can tell when somebody's feeling that vibration of joy.
yeah. Oh, brilliant. I love it. And so you said you wrote a book. What was your book, The Rainbow Book? Tell us a little bit about that a second.
I, yeah,
Because I think I need to look that up now.
I've written a couple of books, but the one that I spoke of was Breathing Rainbows and
Mm,
Lessons on Living and Dying. And this idea of breathing in and breathing out, and breathing in, maybe we breathe in the color green, which might feel like love and earth and groundedness, and then we breathe out red, which could look like worry, and then the next we breathe in yellow, which might be sunshine and happiness, and maybe we're breathing out love. So I have this idea of breathing in and breathing out, and that life isn't always exactly one emotion. That we might breathe in, we might be feeling fear, and then breathing out love, and then breathing in love, and breathing out love, and breathing in fear, and breathing out fear. So this idea of that life is a rainbow, and to really explore that rainbow. So the book itself is about little lessons along the way, finding the extraordinary in the ordinary.
amazing. Can we find that on Amazon?
Yes.
Brilliant. And if people want to find out more about you, what is your website called?
It's dancingporcupine.com.
That's a great name. How did you come up
Thank
with
you.
that?
You know, Java helped me with that. It was at my second T-Touch training in Cincinnati, and the instructor laid out some medicine cards at the end of the training, and there were cards in a circle. And we all went around the circle and we shared what were the teachings that we learned that week in the training. And I said, when it came my turn, I said, I learned about faith, trust, and letting go. That when I really have faith and I trust and I let go, Java does great. When I'm really busy with the agenda and wanting something to be different, that's when we struggle. But this faith, trust, and letting go, I finished saying that, and Java walked out confidently into the middle of the circle and she slammed her paw down on the cards. And the instructor looked at me and she said, "Don't you want to know which card she picked?" And so I turned it over. It was the porcupine, which meant nothing to me until I read the book that explained here's what porcupine medicine was about. It was about faith, trust, and letting go. And I had just said that. And so I sat with that and I thought, I want to do something with porcupine for my business name. And then I thought, gosh, porcupines are misunderstood and we're all misunderstood creatures. And that's part of the medicine that brought me to this work, was recognizing that we're misunderstood and that we misunderstand our animals. But I thought, if a porcupine is dancing, nobody's going to be afraid of it. And then I found out that baby porcupines actually get up on their back legs and they go like this. And so from this silly little name, there's actually a really deep undertow from it. So
Brilliant.
dancingporcupine.com.
Awesome. Thank you. I love that. I didn't know that before. I'm so glad I asked that question.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And one last question. What is your favorite tea touch and why?
Oh, my favorite. I've grown to love the heart hug so much, and
Mm.
I play with the heart hug in a variety of different ways. One, there's times when I'm using two hands, but I'll tell you, and it happens with both my husband and I in our house on a regular basis, just bringing a hand to the heart and just a very light, almost like a clouded leopard. Boy, it's like a one or two pressure lying leopard
Mm.
on the heart. And I don't get just one. I'm going to say more than one. I really love doing the T-touches down my sternum. This one's a little bit more, you have to be okay with it. But I tend, when I carry grief, it tends to show up in this area of my body. And so just doing a very light, anchoring the thumb and working down the sternum, especially as women, because we're not always touched in this area. I love these little thumbs that are floating around.
It's a habit, isn't it? Whenever you're doing tea
It
touch stuff.
is. Anyway, working down the sternum, working the heart hug. I've really grown to love working around the heart so much.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. Sage, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you this evening. Well, daytime for you. Um,
Thank you,
Thank you
Catherine.
so much, and please enjoy your Christmas as well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Take
Yes,
care.
and you too. Happy holidays.